Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Essex. I am the Director of Programming at the Alice Stevens Center here in Birmingham, Alabama, on the campus of UAB. It's a pleasure to be with you all this evening. Thank you so much for joining us for our very first pop up artist interview as part of our ASC Drive In Concert Series. Tonight, I'm going to be joined by some other very special guests. Erin E. Spence at the UAB Student Arts Council. Also, Sarah Atkins Jablonski, also with the UAB Student Arts Council. Rachel Arnson with our own campus and community engagement, and Erica Watson with the UAB Marketing Department. And we're so happy this evening to feature as our very first special guest in the series, Ms. Raquel Lily, who's going to be performing here at the Alice Stevens. Hey, Raquel.
Hey.
At the Alice Stevens Center's Drive-In series this coming Friday, starting at 7 p.m. How are you, Raquel?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing fine. It's so good to talk to you again. It's been a while.
I know. I think it's been a while for the rest of the world as well.
Absolutely. How are you holding up?
I am very fortunate in that I have had a streaming community and I've been streaming online for the past 4 years. So I've been doing pretty well. I've been playing a lot of virtual gigs, but this is actually my first time playing in front of a live audience, like in front of me live audience.
Right, right.
Yeah. And since February.
Wow, since February. That's a long time. Have your chops gotten rusty after being off for so long?
No, I don't think so. I've been playing online at least 3 times a week for 3
Oh,
hours straight. So
wow.
it's kind of been really nice just rehearsing with my band the other day, feeling like everybody's just getting back in the groove, but it's really cool that nobody's actually dropped their instrument for an extended period of time.
Right.
Everyone feels, pretty natural, like kind of fell back in together.
That's great. That's great. I
Yeah.
know I did my very first streaming concert on this past Sunday night, and it was interesting. You know, not
I
having an
bet.
audience in front of you to interact with and engage with. So
Sure.
I wonder how you have been able to overcome the fact that there's no audience in front of you doing the streaming concerts. How have you been able to connect with your audience when they're not really there in front of you?
Yeah, so it really helps that there's a really active chat room on Twitch. It's kind of part of the Twitch culture to have, your Twitch chat interacting with you, requesting songs. So the fact that you kind of, um, persuade people to come into your channel and pick out songs that they may like, that kind of breaks the ice. And then just really funny things happen in between. People get to know each other. People talk amongst one another. So yeah, it's kind of weird because you're talking to yourself in a room by yourself, but you're pretending like these people are in front of you. So it's just because if you see people talking at you, then it gives you the opportunity to just be more personable.
Right, right. Very cool. Well, you know, you're no stranger to the Alice Stevens Center. You performed here several years ago, and I remember we were doing a series where we asked artists to write songs and then come and perform at the Alice Stevens Center. And I think you were a part of either the very first installment of that or the second. And I've always been a huge fan of your music, and of course, with you being a guitar player yourself, I was always just really excited to see another player at the center. And I always loved the guitar that you had. Can you talk about what kind of guitar that was? Because I've always wondered.
Yeah. So I have a Gretsch. It's actually right here. This is the one that you saw years
Yeah,
ago. I
yeah,
still play
beautiful.
to this day. It's a Gretsch hollow body. I just love the sound because hollow bodies just have this like resonance, this big, bright, bold sound that's just pretty undeniable when you hear it. I think it also just really complements my acoustic playing, my singing very well. So, it's a big sound and I get to kind of sing along with it. And it just feels really good on my hands. I play a lot of jazz chords
Yeah,
to
you
kind of
did.
to just, like with my music. So I feel like it's kind of akin to that guitar. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's a rockabilly guitar. But I'm like, no, it's also really good for jazz chords and
Yeah,
bar chords.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Followed by
Yeah.
a very distinct sound and you
Mm-hmm.
bringing
Mm-hmm.
out that instrument.
Yeah.
So let's dig into some of these questions here, if you don't mind.
Sure. Of
Um,
course.
so I'm going to ask you like the typical, what first got you into music? What was it someone or something that inspired you to actually want to pick up the instrument and be a musician?
Yeah, so when I was really young, my brother actually introduced me to a lot of classic rock. So like Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Who, and just all these pretty big bands, that came out of the 60s, 70s, and so on. So I think because back in the day when everybody was very guitar dominant, especially the Beatles, who I really looked up to, they were my favorite band growing up, still is. They're amazing.
Well,
I just wanted to be a songwriter just like Paul McCartney and John Lennon, and, I think that's kinda what inspired me to pick up and start playing was because I just wanted to be just like my idols.
wow, very cool. Well, we have that in common. The reason that I picked up the guitar was the first time I saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. Of course, I'm much older than you are, but
Yeah, Ed Sullivan, yeah.
it's crazy that that one thing inspired so many guitar players. That one show, so many people saw that at the same time and were inspired to pick up an instrument and play guitar. So we've got that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I listened to some of your new music, and it's very different from the music that you played when you were at the Alice Stevens Center early on. Um, how would you describe the music that you are creating now versus what you were doing a few years ago?
Yeah, so a few years ago, I put out a lot of stuff that was, like, embarrassing because I was still kind of, like, getting into the scene, just kind of knowing myself and knowing my voice, finding my style of playing.
Right.
And I was kind of just trying everything. And because I was such a fan of like old school sounds like the Beatles and these big harmonies, which I very much still am, I think I kind of started to stray away from like that doo-wop 1950s sort of like
Right.
old school sound and then kind of just like twisted it into my own the more influences I got as I progressed through my music career. I think now I could accurately describe my music as indie R&B or indie soul is what I usually tell people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of got like a little bit of Nora Jones, Amy Winehouse, sort of like smoothness, but also I take a lot of influence from just modern music,
Mhm.
modern and pop music, hip hop. So I really like incorporating a lot of hip hop, lo-fi kind of style drums,
Yeah.
just to keep things fresh and modern. I
Right.
think when you saw me, I was really pursuing this like I said, this like 50s sound, and I was trying
Yeah.
to stay true to that vintage thing.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, I grew up a little bit.
I love the direction that you're going in, and I listened
Thank
to
you.
the record on Spotify a few times, and I really like the sound. It's a really modern sound. It's really cool. It sounds a lot like the music that I grew up listening to, and
That's
what's
awesome.
popular. Yeah, I really,
I love
really
it.
like it a lot. So a more serious question here. We're living in a very interesting and challenging time right now as musicians. And what would you say musicians struggle with the most through this pandemic? I mean, there are tons of things that, of course, we're struggling with, but what would you say is the most challenging thing that we struggle with as musicians?
Yeah. I think the hurdle of going from this like live gigging setting where you have a sound engineer, you have people kind of helping you set up. You don't really have that environment anymore because bars, clubs, venues, all that is pretty much kind of on hold right now.
Hmm.
So I think the biggest challenge is to try and navigate the internet and try and figure out how to use that to your advantage as a musician, as a player. And I am always open to helping people, and I've said this on my Facebook, on my Instagram, and all my social media. Any musician out there who's interested in streaming online, don't be afraid to hit me up. I was, 4 years ago when I was starting off on Twitch, it was a gaming website, and it still is. but they're transitioning to a more kind of eclectic feel where there's musicians, podcasters, all sorts of other content. But yeah, I think what was really hard for me was just trying to figure out, okay, I have all this music equipment. I have, thousands of dollars worth of gear that I bring to all these clubs. How do I use that at home?
Right,
So
right,
just trying to figure out how to do it at home and running your own show. It's essentially like running your own TV show. And I think once you figure out the technology, once you get over that like scary technology hump, then I think you're good to go. And all you have to do is press live. Like it's just a matter of just doing it and being consistent.
right, right, right. Well, it sounds like you've done that. I mean, I haven't seen you on Twitch yet. I'm not really a big, you know, I'm never on Twitch, so I've never seen you there. But it sounds like you've developed a fan base and people who really love what you do on that platform, and that's great. That's awesome.
Thank you. I got really lucky with that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that kind of leads into my next question, which is how do you feel the internet has impacted the music business, and how has earning a living shifted for you as a result of the fact that we can't go out and play gigs anymore?
Sure.
I'm sure it's made an impact on you in some way. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's funny, less than a year ago before the pandemic hit and everybody had to stay at home,
Mhm.
I was actually running around all these music festivals trying to get some contacts, talk to people about transitioning all these, essentially they had a live stream going on where they have this big camera, all these multicam setup. I'm like, why aren't you guys streaming? Like you can make so much more revenue. Just trying to convince everybody to like hop on this internet train that I felt like music was going to go towards. And
Wow.
it's crazy because all we needed was this little push of, well, no one can go out now and no one can go to
Right.
festivals.
Right.
So a year ago, I felt nuts, like running around and like, there's this thing on the internet where you could stream your music, and just trying to convince someone like I was like some like crazy hokey trader, that was like running around. Um, but yeah, for me, like I said, I've been doing this for 4 years. So it's a culture that it's like second nature to me. I mean, before I started streaming music, I was actually gaming. So the whole internet culture and that meme culture and like the gaming life, like I gamed all my life. So it was just, like I said, second nature. Got
Mhm.
really lucky that I built a platform on Twitch. And as far as income goes, um, yeah, I lost a ton of gigs. I was actually supposed to go on tour. I had all these
Wow.
plans to go overseas, and I was going to release an album and do all this work just kind of touring on this album, but I kind of had to shift my plans. A big goal of mine was to play festivals, but yeah, I just kind of an existential like, okay, what do you do now?
Right.
And I kind of just stuck around Twitch and just did that really hardcore. I started streaming like 6 times a week, which I slowed down now. Um, but yeah, I streamed a lot more. I was actually gaining 100% of my income just from
Wow.
streaming alone. And before I would supplement it with like wedding gigs, and I would do just, odd gigs here and there. My band would play out, we get paid for that.
Mhm.
But now I find that I'm saying no to more gigs that require me to leave my house
Wow.
because, number one, for safety, I don't want to be exposed because I need my body to
Right.
do my job.
Right.
But if I can make more money being at home and not putting myself in danger like that to get sick, then I'm gonna choose to stay home. So it's kind of been a nice, I always seek to go. I'm always seeking to travel, but at the same time, like if I don't have to, it's really nice to have the option to just be here and do my job.
Right. Right. Um, I have another question about a music video that you recorded. I think it was in Birmingham for a song called Heartstrings.
Yes.
Yeah. So was that the very first time that you'd ever done a music video, or had you done something like that before?
Yeah. So that was one of my higher production music videos, which uh, I'm actually not foreign to. I filmed one right before that
Oh, wow.
my community from Twitch helped me pay for,
Mhm.
and they sent me to Miami, and we paid for all the production, and I
Wow.
was there for a little less than a week, and it was really nice. Um, but yeah, it definitely wasn't my first Birmingham music video. I've shot 2 other Birmingham music videos, but
Wow.
this one, Heartstrings, is my most recent one.
Hmm.
And, yeah, I wanted the opportunity to hire people who just haven't worked since the pandemic, and, I was fortunate enough to get my buddies who usually do, lights for Tame Impala.
Hmm.
They have been out of a job since February, so I'm like, "Hey, do you wanna program some stuff for me? And it'll be fun." And then I hit up Saturn, and they haven't seen people in there since, like, March. So
Yeah.
I just felt really good about, I love Birmingham. I mean, I live in Atlanta now, but Birmingham will always be home, and
Right.
I just really loved being able to provide for people in that community, in my community, and feel good about where my money was going versus paying for, like, a corporate thing where, my money disappears and, like, I'm paying for a producer that I don't even know or I don't
Right.
get to speak to. So it
Right.
was nice. Like, it was a big local effort. I got Forecast Salon to do my hair and makeup, and it was just all local people, so it
Mhm.
it felt really good.
Did you produce and direct the video yourself, or did you have someone to do it for you?
I produced the video myself. My brother actually directed it, so it was kind of
Oh,
a family business deal.
very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
He's a filmmaker in, New York. He's in the process of moving out because it's getting crazy expensive
Yeah.
over there, but
Yeah.
he's been staying with me in Georgia,
Oh, cool.
and, we just had an opportunity to be creative together, and we're like, "Let's just go for it."
That's very cool. Very cool. And it's cool that you've hired, people in the business who are out of work and kind of struggling right now, and you just provided, some income and revenue for them. And that's really cool that you looked out for your folks.
Yeah, I always try to, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, absolutely. So if you could open a show for any artist, and this is just a kind of a random question, if you could open a show for any artist, and you said that that you had planned on being on tour at some point this year, who would that artist be? I mean, who do you think would be the perfect artist for you to open up for?
Do do they have to be alive?
Good question. Let's say no. Let's say no.
Okay. Okay, if I could open for an artist that's, like, way up my alley, it would be Amy Winehouse. She's
Oh,
mom.
wow.
Yeah, and I just she's got that jazz thing going on, she's got the hip hop groove, she's a big influence of mine.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that would be incredible, and I would probably be fangirling every single night and trying to get on the stage with her, and
Right, right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, that's a good pick. I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, yeah.
So Raquel, what's next for you? I mean, you're doing a lot of things. You seem to have the streaming thing going on, and of course, we're all anxiously awaiting the opportunity to get back on stage and play for people again. So when that does happen, or maybe even before that happens, what's next for you in this business, in this industry as an artist?
6 months ago, I would've told you I really wanna play Bonnaroo and I really wanna play Lala, but I've realized I can't depend on, these bigger businesses to kind of fuel the creative machine that I'm trying to build independently, and, it's kinda liberating, but it's kinda scary because I had to shift my goals. But I think now I'm really focusing on, really just riding this wave, of music exploding on the internet and just trying to build this empire of, um, I guess trying to go mainstream through streaming. I mean, it's happened for YouTubers.
Mhm,
It's happening to gamers who have been live streaming, people like Pokimane.
mhm,
They're superstars of their realm. And I don't feel like that's happened with music yet. So
mhm.
I think that's the next frontier. So I'm just trying to get ahead of the curve and
Right, right.
really try and build something that is, not dependent on any label or business, but just kind of build something that I built myself in my community.
I love it. I love it. Because that's kind of what you have to do nowadays. You can't really depend on anybody
Absolutely.
for you. So I really
Yeah.
applaud you for that. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. So let's open the floor up for some questions, and so you don't have to listen to me talk all the time, because I could go on all night. So um, we've got one question from Erin. Oh, okay. So I'm handing it over to Sarah now. Is that correct?
Got it.
Okay. There we go.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey. So a question I had for you is, one of the first things that's easy to notice about your Instagram is the color purple. How did you find it as a part of your look, and what does that sort of mean to you?
Yeah, so growing up, I was very rebellious. I was told by my mother that I could not touch my hair, and the first thing I did was dye my hair purple. So it kind of just, I don't know, symbolizes a lot in my life. Like, not only do I love the color because it's so unisex, I don't think it's feminine or masculine, it's somewhere in between. You know, people like that I look up to, like Prince, really made it hip. But it's just a beautiful color, and I think it symbolizes both femininity and masculinity, and I think that's a lot of my personality that I like to express, even in my photos, and it's just eye catching. And yeah, I love the duality of the color.
Your Instagram looks so cool. I love it.
Thank you.
When do you tour next?
You know, it through the grapevine, and I don't want to solidify anything here because people are in chat totally listening. There have been talks of going overseas, possibly in March or April, and there are dates that, you know, are kind of tentative, but, you know, obviously quarantines kind of come and go depending on the country and stuff. So, and I don't even know what the value of the US passport will be in, you know, 4 months. So kind of just taking it day by day. But yeah, I definitely want to go on tour very soon. There are plans of it. I just can't guarantee when.
I'll hand it over to Erin now.
Hi. So firstly, I love that you shouted out Saturn. I work at the coffee shop next door. And they've been here all the time. It's great. So this is a question from the audience. They would like you to tell us about filming the video for Tinder Love.
Tell them about it. Okay, so Tinder Love was an idea that came about. If I don't want to spoil it, but I guess spoiler alert. So it's kind of the concept is, you know, you're online dating and you kind of get lost through the people that you're seeing, and the song is really about just like hanging on to yourself, or trying to hang on to yourself and not becoming too desperate. And you kind of lose pieces of yourself along the way. But yeah, the music video I thought would be really funny if I, you know, did like a kind of a time hop where I was going through the decades. And you're seeing that, like, I'm not aging, and it's like, okay, what's going on? Is she the same person? And then at the end, I'm a vampire, and it turns out that I'm using this dating app, like in the 2000s, I'm using the dating app, whether it's Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, whatever. That's how I'm finding my victims. And so I guess what's cool about it is the director, who is also a Birmingham native, Akio Boy, Ronnie Moore Jr., or Cloudy McDoom. He's a content creator too. Also streams on Twitch. He and I came up with that concept like concurrently. Like, we were sitting in front of each other in front of like a coffee house, and we were just like, okay, ready, set, go, vampire.
Nice.
Man-eater. Like, it just came together and we just had to do it. We had the same idea, and it was just so serendipitous.
Nice. Yeah, it's really cool. I am supposed to hand it over to Eric, but I am not familiar with this platform.
It's all good.
Okay, I'm back.
Hey.
So my light, actually, I was hoping that my light from the sun would keep me all lit up here, but I'm going kind of dark. So we're
going daylight savings.
I know. I completely forgot about it. Raquel, thank you so much for spending this time with us. And for everyone who's listening out there, Raquel's drive-in concert begins at 7 p.m. this Friday at UAB's parking lot 15F, and tickets begin at $10. And you can get your tickets at alicestevens.org to get your parking spot and your tickets. So Raquel, thank you so much once again. It's so good to talk to you. And I'm so excited about your career and everything that you're doing. I'm going to go check that video out too that you just talked about.
Yeah, definitely.
That sounds cool. All right. So we look forward to seeing you on Friday, and we look forward to seeing everybody else out there on Friday as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, guys.